Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming videos. And today we are going to learn how to crochet the Sugar Plum Baby Blanket. Now you can make this blanket any width and any length that you want. I will put all of my blanket measurement and pattern notes down below in the description box, so check that out if you're interested. The row repeat in this one is fairly simple. We have 4 rows of a moss stitch and then 1 row which separates those moss rows, and you get a very nice simple baby blanket. I love this blanket because it is reversible, so the back and the front are exactly the same. At the end, we'll just work a simple single crochet border for as many rows as you want the thickness of your border to be. For this blanket, I am using Ice Cream by Lion brand Big Scoop. It is 1,117 yards, so this has a lot of yardage in it. It is a 3 weight. For this project, I am going to bump it up just a little bit and use a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. For the tutorial, I am just going to use some yarn that I have around. I'm going to just be making a little sampler so you can see how the pattern works up and you won't have to sit through me working 120 stitches per row. So what you want to do is start with a slip knot on your hook, and this pattern can be worked over a multiple of 2. So just chain 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 for as wide as you want your blanket to be. The blanket that I'm making with the Lion brand Tutti Frutti Big Scoop Ice Cream, I chained 120 total chains. For this sampler, I'm just going to chain 20. You just need a multiple of 2. Once you have your chain multiple of 2, we're going to work back into that second chain away from the hook. So there's that first one right there. Work a single crochet into the next one. Chain 1. Skip the next chain and work a single crochet into the next. Chain 1. Skip 1. Single crochet into the next, and you're just going to repeat that all the way back down your chain. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into the next. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into the next. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next. At the end, you should have 2 chains left. You're going to chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet into that last chain. And that is how you work row 1. For row 2, we're going to start with a chain 1, turn, and you're going to find that first chain space. You can see them all along. Working with single crochets, sometimes they're hard to find, but you want to work into that first chain space. So essentially, you've chained 1, you're going to skip 1, and work a single crochet into the chain space. Chain 1, skip 1, so you're skipping that single crochet and working a single crochet into the space. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into that chain 1 space. Chain 1, skip 1, and find that space, single crochet into the space. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into the space. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into the chain 1 space, and so on, all the way back down for row 2. Now at the end I've got one more chain space, so I'm going to work a single crochet into it, chain one, skip one, and work a single crochet almost into the end stitch. It's like on the side. It's kind of hard to see, and it's could be a little bit tight to get in there, but just work a single crochet and that will keep your sides even. So that is row 2. Row 3, we are going to be working sort of a puff stitch. So for row 3, we want to chain 3, turn, and you're going to be working in those chain spaces again. So the remainder of this pattern is really just working into those chain spaces. So you can see it right there. You're skipping one, and we're going to work into that chain space, and we're going to work a puff. So I'm going to yarn over, put my hook in the space, pull up a loop once. I've got 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, put my hook through the same space twice. I have 5 loops on my hook. I'm going to do this one more time. Yarn over, put my hook in that space. That's 3 times. I should have 7 total loops on my hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yarn over, pull back through 6. You should have 2 loops on your hook, and yarn over, pull back through 1, and chain 1. And now we've created a puff. We want to work a puff into every chain 1 space all the way across, separated by a chain. So every time you finish a puff, chain 1. Skip that single crochet, find the next space, yarn over, work a puff, seven loops on your hook, yarn over, pull back through 6, yarn over, back through 2, and chain 1. Skip that single crochet, find the next space, and work a puff. Back through 6, yarn over, back through 2, chain 1. And you get a nice puff stitch which really accents those single crochets, and those single crochets really accent those puff stitches. So row 3 are just puff stitches into those chain 1 spaces. Back through 6, back through 2, chain 1. At the end you'll have this last chain space and then your end, which we need to straighten up. So I'm going to work a puff into that chain 1 space, back through 6, yarn over, back through 2, chain 1. You're going to want to skip that stitch there and work right into that next stitch. So here is that single crochet on the end, and we need to work into the next stitch. We're going to work a double crochet to even up our sides. So sometimes that end stitch can be tight, so just do your best to get into it and double crochet, and that will keep our side nice and straight. And that is row 3, which is a puff row. The next 4 rows we're going to be working just those single crochet rows. So I'll show you how to set that up. Chain 1, turn, find that first space in between your puffs, single crochet, chain 1, find the next space, single crochet, chain 1, find the next space, single crochet, chain 1, all the way down in between those puffs. This row is super fast because those spaces are so obvious, and you're just working single crochet, chain 1, at the end I've got these 2 puffs here. I'm going to go ahead and work my single crochet, chain 1, and then skip that stitch right over the puff and just work a single crochet into the top of your turning chain, or the top of the chain 3, to finish row 4. So row 5, 6, and 7 are just those same single crochet rows. Chain 1, turn, you're going to find that first chain 1 space and single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, find the next space, single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, find the next space, single crochet, chain 1, all the way down. I will show you how to finish the row, and then you're going to want to repeat that for a total of 4 single crochet rows. So this is our second one, so I would do 2 more, and then I would work the puff row again. So here at the end I'm going to work into that last space, single crochet, chain 1, always skip the next stitch, and then work into that very end one that's kind of hard to get into. And you've got your 2 single crochet rows on top of that puff row. So you can repeat these rows, the puff row and the single crochet rows, as often or as few amount of times as you want. For this baby blanket, I started with 2 single crochet rows on the bottom, worked a puff stitch. I am now going to work 4 single crochet rows and then a puff row, 4 single crochet rows, and then a puff row. But this is your blanket, so make it how you want. This pattern is super flexible in that you can mix and match those rows as many times or as few times throughout your blanket. So if you like the look of the single crochet, a wider single crochet row in between your puff rows, then do that. If you want a narrow single crochet row, like if you only like these 2 and you want to do a puff row on the next row, you can do that. You just want to make sure that when you start with a puff row, you're chaining 3, because on the puff rows we need a double crochet on each side, and then we work our puffs. But we're always just working into those spaces, just like the single crochet rows, we're just working into the chain 1 spaces as well. For a single crochet row, you just chain 1 and then you go immediately into the next chain 1 space. So for the puff rows, almost the same thing, but you want to work a chain 3, counts as a double crochet to get up to the height for your puffs, and then you would end with a double crochet into the top of the turning chain, and that is how you make this pattern. So I'm going to continue on with my little blanket, and as a sneak peek, this is what it looks like in the Lion brand Big Scoop. I really love how those single crochets kind of pop, as well as those puff stitches, and it really makes for a very vibrant, dense kind of blanket, but with those puff stitches mixed in, it's a really pretty look, and it does give it some texture too. So if you're looking for just a little bit of texture in your blanket, this is always a nice option. So I'm going to keep working this, and I will see you for the border. Once you have worked the pattern to the total desired length that you want for your blanket, you can see that I've ended on 2 of the single crochet chain 1 single crochet rows. So those single crochet rows, I worked 2 of those at the end after my last puff stitch. So you have a puff stitch and then 2 single crochet rows, and that should be where you end and start the border. So I'm at a corner, and the first row of the border is just going to be a single crochet row. So we're going to work a single crochet evenly all the way around our blanket, and I work 3 single crochets into each corner. So this is where it is helpful to have a stitch marker or 4 to put in that exact middle stitch of each corner. So for example here, let's start row 1 together. For row 1, we're going to chain 1, and this chain 1 does not count as anything. And into that very same stitch that we just chained out of, we're going to work 3 single crochets. So there's 1, there's 2, and that second one, that middle stitch, is my exact stitch. So that's the stitch where you would put a stitch marker in. 1 more makes 3. So you can see I have 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. That middle single crochet is your exact middle. When you work subsequent rows after this for the border, that middle stitch where you may have that stitch marker is where you're going to work 3 stitches. So you're always going to build that corner out from that middle stitch. Along this side, we're just going to work a single crochet as evenly as possible into every stitch. Now you've got these tall stitches here where we worked our chain 3, and I just like to put 2 single crochets in that space like that, and then just moving on down. You just want them even as possible. If you feel like you're getting too bunched, you might need to take some stitches out. If it's too wavy, maybe you're putting too many single crochets in. There's no real rhyme or reason. Everybody's tension is different. Everybody is going to find that they need more or less stitches than the next person. So just work that single crochet into each stitch all the way around as evenly as possible, working 3 single crochets into each corner, marking that middle stitch with a stitch marker if needed. I'm going to go ahead and work my first single crochet round, and I will meet you right back where we started. I've worked my single crochet border all the way around. This is where I started, my 3 single crochets. There's the first, there's the second, and that's my exact middle where my stitch marker would be. I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet that we did to join that first round. To make it easier for myself, I'm always going to start the new round in that middle stitch. So I'm in that first one, that second one, the next one over is my exact middle. I'm just going to slip stitch over to that one so I'm set up right in that middle stitch. I can now chain 1, and that chain 1 does not count, we're just setting up for the next round. But I'm already in that middle stitch. If you had used a stitch marker to mark that corner, exact middle corner stitch, you would take it out, slip stitch into that stitch, chain 1, and now we can work our 3 single crochets. Once you have your 3, you would put a stitch marker into that middle stitch, and that will just keep track of where that middle starting round is and where you need to put those 3 single crochets for each round. And then we're just going to do the same thing. We've already got our initial single crochet border row done. I am just working single crochets all the way around into each stitch now, putting 3 into the exact corners to create our corners. So you can work this border, that single crochet border, around and around as many times as you feel it needs. So it's kind of up to you how wide of a border edge you want. It also depends on how much yarn you have left. So if you're using, like I did, one of these big scoop balls of yarn, you'll have quite a bit of yarn to work with, depending on how much you used for that length and how long your blanket is. I will put down how many rows I did for mine in the pattern notes down below, so you can gauge it that way, or just eyeball it and work as many single crochet rows as you can with what you have left after you work the main blanket pattern. So I'm going to keep working my single crochet border rows for as many times as I can before I start to worry about playing yarn chicken, and then we will see how this cute little baby blanket turns out at the end. I just love how this blanket turned out. Using the Big Scoop yarn by Lion Brand made it an enjoyable blanket because I only have those two ends to weave in. I wasn't changing colors throughout, and I get a really fun and playful pastel colorway going on throughout the blanket. I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial. Until next time, happy crocheting everyone. Bye!